This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kirk.
And I'm Nolan Pulis.
And today we are calling it a little bit of an audible. We originally were going to talk about Randy Orton. However, something came through the pipeline that we really need to get on the air for you guys. We have an interview with independent wrestler out of Laredo, Texas, Johnathan Life.
Yeah, he's been on the scene for about 6 years, doing some different indie work out of the South Texas area. Lucha Brutal right now is the bigger name that he's with, associated with. So, we figured we'd give you guys our first ever interview from the podcast.
And bear with us. This is our first guest on the show, so we're gonna see how this goes. But he joins us now by phone. Johnathan, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
All right, so we saw through your Twitter page that you've been on the scene for about 6 years or so.
Yes, sir.
Where did you start out? Training and stuff like that. Like, who trained you, and where did you go from the beginning of your career?
Oh, okay. So I started. Well, I'm from Laredo, and so I didn't know that we had a local wrestling, promotion here. So I was just kind of doing backyard stuff with my friends, just because we're like, oh, you like wrestling, I like wrestling, let's do some backyard stuff. And it was just one day where two of the guys that were there doing this whole backyard wrestling stunt had told me hey, there's this local wrestling show. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll go check it out. And then this my other buddy Alex had said, he's like, no, you could probably go and help set up the ring and everything. I was like, oh, okay. So I go and I set up the ring, and I'm putting the padding, tightening the ropes. And so the main promoter is just like, do you have any type of gear? And I was like, yeah, I do. He's like, oh, okay. So, just kind of from paying my dues, putting the ring up together and everything else, I'd be getting trained in the process too.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
By everyone that was there. So there was guys with names like Hot Rod J, Mad One, Burhan, Pretty Boy Ocho, and these are just all local wrestlers here that were trained by somebody else, but they were helping me with different things, doing the front rows, the back rows, the bumps. So just anyone involved with the LWA, the Laredo Wrestling Alliance, practically trained me. They're all responsible for bits and pieces of what I'm doing right now. So I kind of give them all the credit in the world, and I'm really grateful for that, because it was just kind of paying dues, and that's kind of how I got my start.
So when you were kind of first starting out and everything, did it come pretty naturally to you, or did you have to work at it a little bit, or how easy did it come to you?
Well, for me, I always I grew up in a family of athletes, so to speak. My older brother did hockey here locally. My dad and my grandfather were pretty good at baseball, and they did it. So, and then there's me, and I'm just well, I like baseball and I like hockey and stuff, but it really never got my attention. But I always felt like I was pretty athletic. I always wanted to try basketball in school and football and all these other things, but it still never got my full passion and my attention, my full drive to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess kind of doing the front rows and all that kind of did come naturally, because this is something that finally, I got hooked on, and I really wanted to do it. So I pushed myself as hard as I could go, and it just became easy because it was so fun to do it. I was really grateful to just be able to set up a ring and being able to fucking, roll around in one,
Yeah, no, I think the best part about that too is you don't actually have one guy that you can say, hey, he trained me. It's a pretty neat story to hear how you started out and had all these people kind of just showing you stuff. That's actually really cool. You hear I've read different books Daniel Bryan's book and stuff like that, and he has certain guys that he thanks this person that you have you went to Shawn Michaels school and all that stuff, but that's pretty cool, having the experience you had and kind of having it kind of thrown on you, and you're like, all right, I'll take it and I'm ready. So
yeah, no, and man, it's just like you said. And funny enough, I got to do, as the years went by, I got to do some seminars, and ironically I got to do it with Rudy Boy Gonzalez in San Antonio. So the guy who did help Bryan out a lot, so that was pretty intense, doing like 5x5s, and he's there watching, like the guy that that is one of my heroes, Bryan, like he's watching me do like the stuff that he probably taught Daniel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty badass, really.
So yeah, man, it's just also, like with seminars and everything too, like I just have so many people to thank, because everyone knows, maybe this guy knows more than him on this, on the roles, and this guy knows better about bumps, this guy knows better about psychology, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just the fun part. That's where I felt I was really blessed and lucky enough to just get my start, because I'm like, wow, like I can ask him, or him.
So sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, so I know you mentioned Daniel Bryan, but what sorts of or who are some of the other wrestlers that kind of inspired you?
The number one is obviously Eddie Guerrero. That's just because there's so many. I guess like just watching him, I always felt like there was some type of similarities. Just the fact that he wasn't small, but I always say like there were guys like Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, these huge guys. And Eddie was just he's kind of short, but he was really buff. But and he's from Texas, he's from El Paso, and I'm from Texas, here in like Laredo, and he's Latino and all these things, and he just really got my attention because he was just so passionate, and you can see it in his matches, like how seriously he took it. Based off on his emotion as well, it's pretty crazy to think that like he's gone. I always feel like like had I met him, my passion and drive would probably be like 10 times more. But I guess just kind of, I don't know, man. It's weird to think that a guy who was just so passionate and everything is just kind of like gone. So I always do kind of get a bit sentimental because I'm like, man, this guy worked his ass off. Like, he was a guy that wasn't looked at. Like, he really wasn't. Like I said, they were looking at all these other bigger guys.
Oh, yeah, he had to earn everything he got wherever he went, dude. whether it was in Japan or if it was, coming up through ECW and WCW and stuff like that. He had to earn everything. They didn't hand anything to him, so.
And it was in his blood. And like I said, like my favorite matches personally from him are, like, him versus Brock, because that was such it was just like, oh my gosh, like he did it.
Yeah, well, and then like you had said to Tim, you texted him the match with JBL, the bloodbath match.
Mm-hmm.
That match was so visual. There was so much blood it actually might have taken away from the match. Like that the match itself was a great match, but when you think of it, that's all you think of is like, wow, that was the bloodiest match I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's funny because like about a few months ago, I showed my girlfriend for the first time like that match. She had never seen it or anything, and I just showed her, like I was just waiting for that moment where JBL just just the chair shot to the head to Eddie, and first of all, like it sounded nasty.
Yeah,
it sounded so gross, and she was already like in shock. She was like, oh my god, and then like 2 seconds later, the camera guy just pans to Eddie just in a swimming pool of just blood all over him. And but there was like this moment in the match, like towards the end, where he kind of starts like hooking up a bit, like JBL throws like a strike, oh crap, he's kind of getting that Eddie groove, and then boom, and he's just bloody and sweat, and it's so crazy, man. And I think like moments like that, like where I can feel his energy, like his passion, like how much he loves wrestling, and that's kind of how I was like, you know what, this is my guy.
Dude, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you talk about it. So,
right? Nah, man, it's just really how I feel, and I mean, it's just I hope. I mean, everyone else has that, whether it be like with John Cena or anyone else, but for me, it's always going to be Eddie.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man.
It's kind of going back to the kind of the beginning of your career. What are some of the memories you have of your first match?
My first match, it was pretty funny because, like I said, I was just kind of like, I was, putting up the ring and just, rolling around and everything. And it was like with my two friends that we were doing a backyard with. So kind of just like, so you do have gear? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, all right, well, tomorrow night you're going to face Alex and Ishan in like a triple threat. And I was just so crazy because I was like, oh gosh, like tomorrow I'm going to have my first wrestling match like ever, like in front of people in like an actual wrestling promotion, like in an actual ring, not a trampoline, not anyone's backyard. Like this is legit now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just so cool, man, because I just think it was because the match was so bad. But and there's footage somewhere out there, and I'm still looking for it because I do want to like upload it on my Twitter and like on my Instagram to kind of just show like 6 years ago this is where I was, and 6 years later this is where I am now.
Yeah, that was the hard part about doing research about you is there's not a whole lot out there. We looked at we found a couple different matches, and I actually saw your promo you had for the show for Lucha Brutal that I assume would have got postponed or canceled, right? It was supposed to be this past week, right?
So it was happening like a few days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That was a killer promo, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's where my problem lies a bit is that I am and I'm not really on social media when I actually should. Like, there's so much content I have, like, in the palm of my hand. All I need to do is upload it.
Yeah.
And, I have a YouTube channel, I have my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook page, and everything.
Yeah, no, we found a couple of ones through YouTube. One of them was the Fatal 4-Way match.
That's probably one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and
that was a great match.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. So, like I said, it was tough because we had, different clips from your Twitter. So, like, we were trying to get, like, more, see more about you, and there wasn't a whole lot out there, so that made it kind of tough. So, Tim was kind of worried, like, we wouldn't be prepared, but we, it's one of those things where I'm glad that you're pretty chill about just kind of shooting the shit, really.
Yeah, no, man, and like I said, once again, like, that's my fault. Like, in that, I'm always about to, I'll finish working out, and I'm like, you know what, I should upload this match. Or, I should upload this clip and stuff. But I don't know why I just never go around to it. Like, there's literally no answer why I don't.
Yeah.
Like,
well, at a certain point, you probably just want a little bit of downtime. I mean, it's probably a little slower now where, most of the bookings get postponed or canceled right now because of the times we have. I know that probably may not be perfect for your situation either, I mean... Yeah. It's hard to have, stuff. It's hard to keep momentum going too if you're building to something and then it gets kind of postponed. Like, what are your thoughts on this year's WrestleMania? Like, what's going on?
Well, like for starters, like you were saying, like when you were talking about like the whole these shows getting postponed. I'll get to the WrestleMania question right now. Sorry.
No, you can go whichever way you want, man. It doesn't matter. Whichever's easier for you.
So, with all these shows being postponed, like, it's been really difficult because I know some people that just make income out of wrestling. So it's really tough, man. And like for me, this was just really like heartbreaking because my anniversary is the 1st of March, which is when I was like my 6 years. And, I had all these things lined up, like these big matches, these big title matches and stuff. And, I got my Pro Wrestling Tee store as well, so I was really excited about that. And, this whole month was supposed to be dedicated to just doing these crazy shows, these crazy matches, going all out, being more social, uploading those matches I've had, and, kind of even vlogging and, like, documenting, like, a bit more and just kind of showing, like, how it is, how my daily routine, like, my daily schedule, so to speak. And, with this whole coronavirus, dude, I mean, all that just went to shit. Like, for me and, like, for everyone else, like, it is terrible. Like, it does kind of suck. It's just crazy. I don't know. I think, and it just kind of goes back to, like, this year's WrestleMania. Like, a few days ago, or, like, I think it was yesterday, I can't even remember. They're like, Roman Reigns is out. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yep, he's worried about with his immune system, having gone through the leukemia and stuff that he might end up, which is true. I mean, he's at higher risk than other people, even though he's in great shape. His immune system clearly got ravaged by the treatment he had for his leukemia. So
yeah, I know, and that's why I was just kind of like, well, damn. I was like, I'm glad he's like, because he has a wife and children. So I was like, by all means, like, stay home, stay safe, stay alive.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm a huge fan of Roman Reigns. I can say that for sure. I think that guy's awesome.
I think the worst part about Roman is that they kind of tried to shove him down everybody's throats, and that's what kind of hurt. Going back to after the Shield broke up, and it kind of if they didn't force feed him, the like Fairweather fans would be a little bit more accepting. Yeah, I think because
Ambrose and Rollins from the departure of the Shield were incredible. Like, they kind of ran that year. Like, the rest of the year of, like, 2014, they ran that.
Yeah.
Because I was there for their match at Hell in a Cell in 2014, and that was amazing. Like, I was like, these guys are like running this.
Yeah.
You know, like they main evented, not John Cena, not Randy Orton. Like, it was Rollins and Ambrose, because they got it right off the bat. And Roman, not so much. And I understood that, but I was like, I mean, I just felt like someone had to keep that. Like, I'm like, one of my best friends always tells me, like, what do you think's gonna happen with the Undisputed Era when they break up?
Right.
Like, who's gonna keep the theme song? Like, who's gonna be the Roman, so to speak, to kind of keep the theme song, the hand gesture,
Kind of keep the look, the same kind of look, really. You know, coming from the Shield. I mean, you know, Rollins and Ambrose are nowhere near what they were look wise too. So yeah.
No, by no means.
Are you do you follow AEW at all?
Yeah, I'm kind of up to date with it from time to time. Like I said, my best friend's always the one that kind of tells me, he's like, oh man, this is happening, oh, blood and guts, and I don't know what. So any update from AEW, I'll get from my best friend.
Yeah.
My best friend Vic. So.
What are your thoughts on what they've been doing so far as a whole?
I think it's interesting. You know, like I keep saying that I saw that Brody Lee was the Exalted one. Matt Hardy made his, debut with AEW. So, I mean, they've been on fire. Even with the coronavirus, they've been on, like, fire, man. It's insane.
Yeah, their first show after when they had no fans and they were smart enough to put the wrestlers out there as fans almost was amazing. It made it feel like there was people there. Like, the first Raw and SmackDown, there's nobody in the crowd at all. But the AEW is like, we're going to put, some of the wrestlers out there. And that made it feel so cool. Like they were wrestling for somebody besides the camera,
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool because a bunch of independent wrestlers get a lot of opportunities now because of AEW. And like, I think it's really cool because, there's Kenny Omega, he's no secret, right? The Young Bucks, like these guys are the elite, right?
Right.
But there's guys that like I personally never like heard about before, like Marco Stunt and stuff like that. Like I knew about like Joey Janela and the Lucha Bros and everyone else because like they were big in the indies. But there's those other like independent wrestlers that really weren't that big but kind of are getting like their character just kind of over, like Jungle Boy. Like I attended the last AEW show in Corpus Christi when it was Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
That was towards the end of the year. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, this crowd is so into Jungle Boy, and like everyone knows who Chris Jericho is. Everyone knows who Chris Jericho is. If you're a wrestling fan, if you don't know the name Chris Jericho, you're just not a wrestling fan.
Right.
Absolutely.
But that's my point. Like, we had this guy, Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho, one of the greatest of all times. And Jungle Boy was so over that night. Like, because the whole story was like, I bet you can't last 10 minutes in the ring with me.
Yep.
Like, something like that, right? And I was like, wow, like, that's incredible. Like, this whole audience here is just pulling and pushing for Jungle Boy. So it is, I think, AEW, kind of what it's doing, or what they've been doing since they kind of got on television, has been amazing. Like, I'm a huge, I love telling stories, and I love watching, a good story being, like, told and, how it plays out at the end, and I think they're doing a fantastic job, in all honesty. I mean,
well, I feel like they're actually letting the wrestlers tell the story in the ring. You know what I mean? It's more that versus the gaga outside of the ring. I think that's the biggest difference for me, is that it's still so emotionally invested, but they're doing it in the ring like you should. Like the old wrestling, back in the day, it wasn't all these different segments. It was wrestling and storytelling in the ring. And I think that's their big difference that sets them aside, is that they don't have as many different promo spots where they're talking the whole time. They just wrestle, and then their wrestling tells the story. So, and I know, guys like you were saying, like, Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, like those guys, like they wouldn't have got shots ever, I don't think, in WWE. So, I mean, they're in prime spots on TV every week now. So it's huge.
Yeah, it's so great. Like, like just like an independent wrestler myself, seeing how everyone's thriving in AEW. That's awesome. It's really inspiring, and it kind of pushes us to kind of try to make it there, because to see how much creative freedom there is if done correctly, and it's been successful. I mean, I don't think I haven't seen something where I was like, oh wow, that was bad. Like, I think everything tells a story because it makes sense. Like the whole like Hangman Page, like You know, like I got to see the tag match of the Young Bucks versus Omega and Hangman Page, and I thought it was just incredible.
That match was easily the best match on the card, I think. And there were so many good matches too, but that, especially storytelling wise, I totally agree with you. That match was amazing.
Yeah, but like every match had the story. Darby and Sammy, of course, because of what, like, he took his voice or whatever.
Yeah.
The Young Bucks and Page and Omega was there. MJF and Cody was just one of the stories that you were just hooked on.
Yep.
I was like, because they did it consistently. They did it properly. Like, week by week, they took it slow. They did it perfectly. Like, the steel cage of Wardlow and Cody.
Yeah.
In Cody's hometown. Like, oh my goodness, dude. That gave me goosebumps watching it. I was like, wow. Like, from the entrance to, like, the very last, you know, the moonsault that he hit. Like, doesn't get bigger than that.
No. And then
in your hometown, like, that's great.
Well, and the story with the lashes too. Like, did you see that? That was brutal.
Yeah, dude, it was
that was
people were retweeting that.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh my goodness.
That had to be one of the more brutal things I've ever seen lately. You know, because nowadays, especially with WWE being PG, you don't see that stuff anymore. You just don't see it.
Yeah, because people will probably get soft about it. You know. But it's just kind of where people are like saying, you know, some people can take it, some people can't.
That's what I kind of been thinking about with WWE. I think they've kind of been missing some of their edge that they had, in, like, especially in the Attitude Era where they were edgier, and I think they kind of came off with a better product that way. And I'm not saying you have to probably necessarily go back to all the things they did, but I think they're kind of losing some of their edge where AEW, I think, is picking that edge up.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm a huge D-Generation X, like, fan. Like, that's, like, my favorite tag team of all time because it's literally, as individuals, Triple H and Shawn Michaels are great, and then as a tag team, I think that's just awesome.
I'm actually wearing their T-shirt right now.
As soon as you said that, I pointed right at his shirt. I'm like, that's awesome.
My point exactly, man. They're just awesome.
And I'm wearing a Triple H shirt, too, so.
Like, I remember being a kid and just kind of, like, you know, just going to YouTube and just typing WWE. And, like, I don't know, like, just kind of DX got my attention. And it was like those old, you know, like the Attitude Era videos that made me love DX.
Yeah.
You know, when they were in the podium, when it was Shawn, Shine, and Triple H, and they were talking about like what not to say, and they were just breaking the fourth wall so hard.
They're reading the actual letter that USA sent them on TV. Like, you know, like you can't say all this stuff, and they're sitting there reading it. Like that was one of the most amazing, you know, concepts. And then USA the next week's like, oh, we loved it. Keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's what I mean. Like, and that's the edge. That's the edge that even them themselves are like, we gotta keep these guys because it's so natural. It's just so, it's so fresh. It's just so like, it's so real. It's really real. Like, cause we all know that. Like, we know some guys that are just so sarcastic and just really don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and even if there's like their actions have consequences, they still won't care. And I think that's what DX was. So I just loved it. But. Yeah, no, I think that's like a blessing and a curse with WWE being PG and stuff. But who knows? I mean, with how AEW is doing, I'm more than sure that like they're just gonna like snap and be like, all right, we got to bring a bit more like edginess.
Well, and that's been the problem with the WWE product lately too. With it being not as edgy, it seems to be more predictable. And as a wrestling fan, you don't want predictable. You want the shock and awe, and you don't want to know what's going to happen before it happens.
Yeah. So, like, you want a surprise to be a surprise.
Exactly.
You know, I don't like these dirt sheets. You know, like I attended the Royal Rumble this year, luckily, and it was so cool. Like for me personally, like seeing Keith Lee, because that's like a guy that I shared a locker room with, and he was so cool. He gave me like the best advice ever. To this day, like I'm never gonna forget it. But that's kind of what I mean. Like that was a surprise seeing like Keith Lee. Like, oh, it was cool. And then I heard all these reports that Edge is gonna be there. But nonetheless, like when he came out, I was still like in shock. Because I still remember as a kid, like seeing him retired. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, them having, and he tried so hard to downplay that too. Like once it got out there that he was training and stuff, he's like, no, I'm not. But yeah, it was still a huge moment, but it could have been 100%, you know, more if people didn't know it was going to happen or think it was going to happen, you know?
That's just one thing that kind of just drives me a little insane sometimes. Like, there's too many, like, dirt sheets. There's too many people trying to know ahead of time. And it kills the excitement. It kills the joy. Like, you know, a few years back, I didn't know who was going to win, like, between, like, Shawn and Taker, you know? Like, just because I just didn't want to know. I just wanted to see it live and be like, Shawn Michaels going to break the streak? Like, or, like, the next year when, like, okay, is Triple H going to do it? Like, okay, it's end of an era. Like, is Triple H finally going to break the streak? And then boom, boom, boom. Till finally we got, like, Brock Lesnar, and that was a complete shock because I didn't hear anything like, oh, the streak's going to end, you know. So when it happened naturally, I was like, oh, it's pretty badass because, like, my whole house just went silent, like, the moment Brock pinned Taker.
I have a funny story about that match. I was watching that on my computer, and my computer froze when Brock went for the last pin. And then when it went back on, they were already celebrating the win, so I actually missed the pinfall.
Oh no, dude!
I was so pissed at that time.
That's literally one of the biggest moments, like, in wrestling history. Not literally, like, just wrestling history. That's gonna stand forever. Like, it's gonna stay there forever.
And I'm kind of surprised that wasn't it for him, for the Undertaker. Like, after you would have thought, like, the streak ends, his career's over, he goes on. But I mean, he's still coming back, and there's still been some matches where he's looked really good in. I mean, obviously you have the Goldberg match in Saudi Arabia that was horrible, where he drops him on his head pretty much. But, like, you know, he still had, like, I was surprised Shawn Michaels came back. They've been throwing so much money at him over the years, and he kept saying no, 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 and then, you know, he comes back for that Brothers of Destruction DX angle for that one match.
Yeah. I guess it's just partly more of like, it's not just about the money; it's about the people I'm working in there with. So,
right.
Of course,
well, no, I'm just saying they've probably
Shawn,
thrown so much money at him to try to get him to come back. You know, they're like, oh, well, you know, name your price, and he kept saying, nope, I'm not. Like, I'm retired. So. But yeah, being in there with Taker and Kane and Triple H was probably, you know, hard to pass up if you're Shawn. It had to have been.
Yeah, it had to be. That's the only way.
So, what would you say, you know, here in 2020, right now, what would you say your dreams going forward in wrestling would be? Like, what would be the ideal situation for you?
Obviously getting signed. I think all of us independent wrestlers, that we can make a living out of this, is just the dream come true, like a dream come true, because this is what we, like, dreamt of and trained for and sacrificed so much for. Like, anyone that's doing this already knows the sacrifice that we're doing. Like, we're treating this as if we were in WWE. You know, we're sacrificing, not, you know, being on the road a lot, so being away from, like, our pets, our family, you know, anything that makes us feel complete besides wrestling, like, we're leaving that all behind. Just to pursue this dream, you know, this career, so to speak. And it's always going to be difficult because there's going to be some lonely, tough nights, just trying to hope and praying that you just have that opportunity to just have a tryout, wherever it is, and get a contract and just make a living out of this. Whether it be in WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, for me personally, it doesn't matter. I just want to wrestle and have the best matches I could have and make a living out of this. And I'm sure any other independent wrestler, you know, pushing and thriving to just hopefully be able to do the same thing. And, you know, that's just basically it, man. We're just all trying to get signed. You know, we're just all trying to make a living out of this. So, because it's something that we love, and it's not much of a job. It's just like, you're having fun, but you're getting paid to do it. And that's pretty cool.
Right on.
Awesome. And we certainly wish you the best in making that dream, you know, come true for you. You know.
Yeah, thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
So we'll kind of get you out of here on this. So if you had a dream opponent, who would it be?
Living or?
Well, we can do that way too. We could say living or not. We could have a couple different options.
Yeah. Honestly, my number one would be Eddie, just because I would want to see, I just would want to see, like, how his psychology works, like, how he'd want a match, like, the structure of a match in his perspective, how he would want it, how he'd want to do it, like an actual, like, 20 to 30-minute match. I would love to just hear his ideas and, I don't know, just kind of be in there with him. But Eddie Guerrero aside, it'd be Daniel Bryan, easily. Mm-hmm. he's one of those guys that I've been like tape studying from his Ring of Honor days to his Japan days to his modern times right now in the E. And so yeah, I mean it'd be Daniel Bryan because I love getting hit. I don't know why, I love getting hit. It wakes me up. It's kind of like, all right, this is what. And I have a hashtag in a brand I'm trying to start for like the last year or so, and it's no one hits harder than life. And by that I mean not me, I mean life itself, because we've all been hit by life pretty hard to where any physical or emotional pain will not even compare to what we went through the worst. Like, we already been through the worst, so nothing and no one else is gonna hurt me more than that like moment where like my heart was like broken and shattered to some traumatic events. So you could be 340 pounds, like 6'7", like the strongest guy in the world. You can punch me, but it's still probably not gonna put me down because I was already put down by life itself. And the fact that I came back from that just shows that there literally is no one else to put me down the same way that did. So yeah, man, I'd like to get kicked as hard as possible from like Daniel Bryan, so I can return that same kick.
That's an incredible message. I mean, that's awesome.
I was gonna say that's a perfect summary for anybody. Like you said, anybody, not just wrestlers, but anybody out there. Yeah. Going along those same lines, we'll let you go here in a second. If you had to pick a tag team partner, dream tag team partner, who would that one person be? Whether it's someone living, dead, somebody indie, somebody in one of the big companies, who would your ideal tag team partner be?
I'm trying to think, because I am a huge tag team fan. I got to hold tag team titles around here in the state of Texas, like in San Antonio. I was heavy metal wrestling tag team champions with Del Dempsey. I was TWA tag team champions with Johnny Montana. So I've been like tag team champions with some of like my best friends and closest friends ever. So them aside, it'd probably even be like, once again, like Daniel Bryan, because you're kind of just, you're listening to like instructions, like, oh, do this, do that, bring him over here, let's do this together, boom. So it'd just kind of be someone who is probably like my same height and size as well. So it probably would be like someone like Daniel Bryan as well, because I'm 5'7", dude. I'm 5'7", like 160. So
yeah, if you especially you've been mirroring, what he's been doing too, like you'd almost feel like what you were watching and learning was literally in real life right in front of you too.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just kind of I can just if I'm doing something not properly or not correct, that's where he can just correct me and just be like, oh, this is how it's done. This is how it's properly, executed. And it just kind of goes like that with anyone else. Like, for example, like, I wouldn't be able to say someone like John Cena, because I'm like, I need a tag team match to be realistic. If I'm next to John Cena can do all the work. Granted, I mean, same thing, Daniel Bryan can do all the work by himself easily. But it would just it'd be nice to just get a tag or two and be able to just kind of mix it up there. But
John Cena could be your hot tag. You could be in there, getting smoked, and then, you go over and make the hot tag to Cena.
Nonetheless, like, I think there's so many dream matches out there that it's just so hard to pick one, whether it be a tag match. For me, I wish I can have I love like fatal four-ways. I think that's pretty fun, because I can have more than just one dream opponent.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah, it's just cool. Like, just kind of take advantage and just.
So it would be you, Eddie, Daniel Bryan, and who's the fourth guy?
It's tied between either John Cena or Shawn Michaels.
Oh, Shawn Michaels. Go with Shawn Michaels.
I'll go with Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels is my guy. Go with Shawn. Yeah.
All right, Jonathan. Well, we certainly thank you for taking the time to be with us today. This was a great interview here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. And best to you in your future. And hopefully you'll get signed by one of the major companies, and we'll be watching you on TV pretty soon.
Thank you so much, man. That means so much to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your day to chat with us. This is like episode 17 for us. So like we're starting out fresh, trying to get more content to people. So it's awesome that you took a chance and came on and talked to just two fans that you seem to be a fan too. So it's one of those things where it just come on and talk about wrestling.
Yeah, no, man. Thank you so much for having me. Like you kind of really opened up my eyes and everything, because now I kind of want to be more consistent on having more content on there on my YouTube, on all my social media platforms.
We would love to see it. We would anything you want to share. We would love to see it. We would retweet it and share it, because like I said, from what we've seen, we really liked. So
thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think that went pretty well. That's pretty good. An awesome interview there.
Yeah, it was. We were both pretty nervous going into it,
Yeah.
So it went really well, and I hopefully you guys liked it.
So coming up next week, we're going to give you our predictions on WrestleMania. WrestleMania going to be a 2-day event this year. That's coming up next Saturday and Sunday. So we'll give you our predictions, see how good or bad we do here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world too. So there's a lot up in the air. So we'll have to see, as time gets closer, what exactly is going to happen. If we know what's going to be on what day or not, we'll see. But
we'll see what happens. But until then, I'm Tim Kirk,
and I'm Roland Pulis,
and this is Wrestling with Wrestling Past and Present.